Hello, happy Friday, and welcome to Simon's Trading Channel. My name's Simon. I do a daily Bitcoin price action analysis. That was a big sentence. Before we get right into it, and there'll be a bit of a focus on the RSI today and momentum, I just want to remind you that I'm not a financial advisor, so please don't consider this financial advice. Hopefully, it'll be useful though. All right, so let's get straight into it. As you can see, the weekly is looking jolly helpful now, having broken out of that range around about the 44.5 mark. I'm gonna briefly look at the RSI for all the time frames and see if there's anything obvious that can then give us or give me a spin on when a pullback may happen on each of the time frames. So starting with the weekly, if I just zoom out a wee bit, I say a wee bit, quite a bit, and the reason I've done that is if you just look at this run up here, which is the 2021 bull run. Um, the RSI gave you a heads up with significant regular bearish divergence along this section compared to these highs, and that led to this significant pullback. The rest of it, as they say, is history. Well, that's all history because it's all back in time. If you apply the same logic, and the RSI, people love the RSI. I personally don't use it as a trading tool because it just doesn't fit my tiny mindset. However, it is a useful metric with regards to divergences, and it's just very clear when there is a divergence. I tend to just use it for regular divergences. I know other RSI traders use it for the hidden divergences, but if I'm honest, I don't really get them, which is why I just use it for regular divergences. If you don't understand anything I just said, I'm not the right person to give you a good explanation of RSI when it comes to the non-regular formations. So please look to people who are more interested in RSI. Anyway, the point is, or the point I'm trying to make in a very long-winded way, is that the weekly RSI printed a nice overbought area here, which corresponded to here, this high here. It's then gone sideways since then, up until the last week or this current week. And what the sideways has done is given the RSI time to cool down a bit, get under the moving average, which then gives it a bit more room for maneuver, which may be this next move. And so, with this weekly closure looking very green and bullish, will the weekly RSI get above the moving average and then set in another high? Well, I don't know because I can't predict the future and no one can. But if it does carry on as it is, then you could see a bit more of a move to the upside, and I'll talk about this target in a moment. But if it did move to the upside a bit further, and the RSI doesn't get above the beginning of December high, that would be regular bearish divergence on a weekly on the RSI, and generally that would be a signal for a pullback to occur, which is what we've all been desperate to happen. Because I want to short this so badly. I keep doing these little longs and I really want to short it. Anyway, so those are my thoughts on the weekly RSI. If we switch down to a daily, you can see that there had been, on this whole run up here, there had been effectively a general decline in momentum on the RSI that potentially was borne out in this move down here. I think that was easier seen on a change in behavior myself from higher highs and higher lows to lower highs and lower lows. But there was definitely a decline in volatility in momentum, as you can see on the RSI. And then there's a bit more of a build here. It's getting towards an overbought area, but it's still significantly lower than these highs here and this high here on the RSI front. So again, there could be some overall decline in volatility occurring on the daily. but there's no recent divergences that I can see with my tiny mind and eyes yet. So that would suggest a bit more upside first. Coming down to the 4 hour, the 4 hour, nice range break. We talked about that yesterday. I'll talk about targets in a little second. I've got a few more minutes to go, so I can squeeze this in. If you consider this a high here on the 4 hour, which I think is valid, you can see the RSI here was there. And the 4 hour RSI has absolutely cleared that range and is now continuing on up. It is in an overbought area, so it's getting difficult to keep it up there from a momentum point of view. However, I can tell you from backtesting, if you sold every time price went into an overbought area on the RSI, you would miss out on some juicy price movements because it can definitely stay up there for a while, particularly on the lower time frames. So the fact the 4 hours up here now doesn't bother me too much. But what it does give you is, like I sort of said on the weekly, on a 4 hour, for example, if it did something like this, makes a move up, just say it gets resistance around the current high, wick high, and does that, it could set in a couple of lower highs on the RSI, still in an overbought area, which would then give you some runs of regular bearish divergence if the RSI did this. I mean, I'm just guessing, guys. Don't take this as what's going to happen, because this is just a guess. But if the RSI did do something similar to that, that would show you declining volatility. Keep saying volatility when I mean momentum, with increasing price, and then it starts to look like maybe a little pullback, but on a lower time frame. And I'm not comparing that to the weekly divergence by any stretch of the imagination. That's just an idea. It's probably not going to work out like that because my little lines never really play out as I expect them to. On to the hourly. I did have a look at this morning. So this is what I mean about an overbought signal on the lower time frames. It can just stay up there and hang around there for quite some time without any significant downside on the price. And the hourly is marching up and doesn't seem to have pulled back yet in any meaningful way. The areas of interest that I picked out yesterday, it did sort of think about, and on an hourly, there was resistance at what I said, which was 45.5, but it wasn't higher time frame resistance, and it just busted on up. Now, with regards to more recent or more relevant price targets, I think for now, probably best off to look at the 4 hour. I've got this one round about 48. It's somewhere between 47 and 49. So 48 is kind of slap bang in the middle. That would look good for a target from here. And if it did that, then the midpoint of this area, which is pretty much where the price is slightly above it now, but you could have that as a dashed line for a nice pullback area. I don't know that's going to happen, but potentially that would look nice and technical. And above that, which has more significance on a daily, 9 minutes, so I'm going to finish up now, stop boring you senseless. These two highs here and here, and the bottom of the price, the sort of sideways price action, did come in around about 52, somewhere between, well, really is anywhere between kind of, say, 51 and about 53. So low 50s, I think, would be a good target if Bitcoin can stay above 48,000, at least on a 4 hour, but probably more like on a daily. Whew, that was a lot of talking, Simon. I'm going to leave it at that. I hope you guys have a fabulous Friday and a smashing weekend, and I'll catch you tomorrow.